I look forward to this all week. This is one of my favorite articles. I think I say that every week. It's kind of crazy. If you guys would, if you know you have questions about play, about your dogs personally, just raise your little virtual hand. Go under participants and you'll see a way. And then I'll see a bunch of little blue hands next to your name. So if you're, some of you have just shown up to, get my take on this, but if you've got specific troubles with a dog in play, go ahead and because I'll leave more time for questions than normal. Okay, so we've got a couple for sure, it looks like. So that's good. And then as you're listening, okay, Karen, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay, that gives me a good idea here. And maybe the article, you guys, what I'm hoping is that the articles actually contradict something that you believe or you think or you heard or you've been working with, so that we can get some real discussion going about, geez, I heard this and it sounds like you're saying that, or even if it's something with me, sometimes it seems like you're saying this about whatever the subject is. And now, so I love explaining the differences, and there are lots of exceptions when it comes to the breeds and to the training programs, and what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. So without further ado, I don't want to make anybody dizzy. Let's start when play isn't. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. When we try too hard is what a lot of the article talked about. I didn't do screen sharing, so let me go back. You guys cannot see what I'm looking at. Screen share. You don't need to see that. And I want you to see that. And I'm gonna make it a little bigger. All right. You should be able to see the photograph now of when play isn't. And this is Anna, and she's inviting this little dog into play. And I love the photograph because it would just fit the title so well, because the little tail is dropped and the little head is dropped and the little ears are back and the eyes are, coming up, looking up under the eyebrow there. So, this dog is clearly not in the mood, but that doesn't mean that dog doesn't look like that right before it starts playing a little bit. So at first, your first glance would be, oh, this handler is, this is all wrong, right? But she could be inviting that dog. She's not over top. She's not reaching out of a frame of her body. She's definitely talking. She looks happy and relaxed. And this may have just been the very first response of, geez, I'm not sure, but clearly the dog is heading toward her. And I, in my imagination, can see that dog start smiling and wiggling a little bit and tucking her tail and starting to go cracker dog here in the next minute. We don't get to know, and we just don't get to know where they're always going to, where our dogs are going to take us. Yeah, thank you. Sounds like you got it. That does kind of mess up our recordings a little bit. So I did laugh so hard when I looked up that definition of engage in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. And that looking that up really set the tone for the article, because I, as a teacher, putting pressure on my students to put pressure, of course, all unwittingly, you guys, of course, not intentionally, but that's what it ends up being for this play. And then I walk to the dog park and see people doing pretty much everything wrong. They're drinking Starbucks, they're talking to their friends, they're practically not engaged, and the dog is dropping the ball at their feet and begging them to throw it, and they may or may not. And the dog doesn't give up trying to get their owner's attention. And and it's just like, what's wrong with this picture? And it's because the owners are playing a little hard to get. And it's just that desperation of, desperation creates a pressure, and pressure is a turnoff. And it doesn't matter if you're a dog or a person. So, the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's like trying too hard is a real mood killer with play. So, the article explains quite a bit, and I'm hoping that you've all read it. And one of the big questions is right here. So why not just use food? Do I have any? So first of all, there are a couple of things that aren't in the article. One is you can play with food. You can make you can make your food animate your dog by playing with it, by hiding it, by interacting with the food. Some dogs get super, super excited by the taste of the food. It's not about, like with the kids with the airplane game. In fact, I've kidnapped intentionally my mother's dog. Actually, he started hanging out. And my mom has spoiled him with the food. She, as soon as he turns his nose up at something, she gives him, you guys know what I'm talking about. You have other people in your family with dogs, I'm sure. And so we've got this little dog, and it's a long story. In fact, I could do a whole thing on it because I learned some amazing things about that dog. And really, I mean, I said he's a little picky, spoiled thing, but he actually isn't picky. He learned not to eat. A whole nother chapter. But I had to do some kitty airplane things with that food. So I literally would, like kitty game, like talks in the article, and throw one. And he's got just enough, thank you, prey drive that he would chase that kibble. And then his brain sort of made him eat it. Like he was like, oh, I got it. Now I have to do something with it. So then it took a while. Now I can set a bowl of food down and he'll eat it. But I was able to turn the food into a toy. So there's some room there to do more with food than I've done in the past. So the three main reasons that the dog has been pressured to play too hard. And it's not just pressure to play. It's once the dog starts playing a little bit, then the owner wants more. And you guys, that right there, if you get a little, enjoy it. Let the dog enjoy it. Stay there. But as soon as we get a little, we want a little more. And then we want a little more. And the dog was like, look, you said if I came in a little, you were going to be happy. And here we go again. Here we go again. I come in, I trust, you want more. And I'm not up to whatever it is you're trying to get me to do for whatever reason, probably irrelevant. So when you're trying to get a dog to play, you got to meet them where they're at and stay there. Just chant it, stay, and you'll see yourself. I do it every time. I'll start to go a little harder and a little more. Now you can stay there and then ask them this much. Want to come a little more with me? Want to come a little more with me? And then stay there. Don't ask for too much. The dog was never taught to play roughly with a human. I think this happens all the time. We see people ringside and on videos, and they've got those puppies and they're smacking them, and then especially if it's a certain breed or a dog that wasn't raised like that, and you start acting like that person you're trying to intimidate, and your dog doesn't buy in, maybe your dog will buy in. Maybe your dog is like, oh, I wish you'd have been acting like that sooner. So if you're intimidating, imitating, you could intimidate them too. But if you're imitating somebody else's play, your dog gets to vote on that. I do like that. I don't like that. So the other thing is this, don't run away with it, bring it directly back, come back to me as fast as you left to get it on a retrieve, put it in my hand. I train all those as separate tricks. And when I actually bring them into the play game, the actual game of play, it's so subtle. and artfully woven in. And if I can't get it super easy, I don't insist on it, because then it's like I used in the article, the kid going to Disneyland. And I used to say going to Disneyland and having to wait in line and do math problems. So I think personally for my students, I put way too many rules on way too soon. Too many rules too soon. So if you've got joy, you guys, joy is what play is about. If the rules are spoiling the joy, you're going to have to teach the rules in a joyful way as separate joyful activities. And maybe you won't even get all of the rules in on that particular dog. And I've already talked about about this, me pressuring the students and the students pressuring the dogs. Shake and beg. I'm thinking of the percentage of students that I have tried to help. 100% of those students have been told how many dogs I've met that don't want that toy shook in their face. And yet an enormously high percentage of those people that I'm talking about at some point in the very lesson that I'm explaining it do that. So it is a hardwired, natural thing for people to do, the shaking the dog, the toy in the dog's face. And I don't think I've met a dog that really liked it. There might be some real super high drive toy crazed dogs that will grab at it and say, sure, I'll have it if you're offering it. But and even when they do, they kind of blink and lean back a little bit. So you might have to videotape yourself actually playing. So I talk in the article about the reason that I like tug so much is that I can get the dog in that carefree state. What I want to talk about that's not in the article is when tug, you guys, when we first started doing agility and we didn't have dogs bred for agility and everybody wasn't trying to get, all of us were on our first dog. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody was on their first agility dog. Nobody was on their third agility dog. Nobody was buying a dog for agility. We had the dog we had and we were doing agility, which was probably the case for most of you with your first dog. And some of you are on your first dog now. So you're right there with where all of us have been. And we decided that tug was the bee's knees and everybody had to have tug. And I still love using tug in training. So when is tug not a great idea? Tug is not a great idea when I don't like using it for over aroused dogs. Would I ever? Sure. Is there a circumstance? If there's nothing else I can do to keep the dog from doing something terribly unwanted, I would tug. But it's like, when does pouring gas on a fire make a fire smaller? So the redirected theory, using tug to redirect, is a Band-Aid that can backfire. That's what I want to say. It's a Band-Aid. There's better things to do with that dog. There's better things to teach that dog. Would it be better to let that dog do the thing that he's wanting to do, the unwanted, going after another dog or a person or whatever, the lack of control? No, of course not. But using tug with some of those dogs is like pouring gas on the fire, and there's other things you can do. The other thing is that some of these high drive dogs that don't have a problem, it can actually, the adrenaline that the tug produces, in my opinion, can be a barrier to learning. The dogs, I mean, you can't be excited out of your mind and do the most difficult math problem. So having the dog in a, for lack of a better word, reasonable state of mind or balanced state of mind is important. And with the Border Collies, I've done it. I've been that person that, you know, gets that dog on that toy and kind of whips them into a frenzy. It's kind of fun. And you feel like you're being accepted by your peers, that you've got this, oh, look at that drive, but really it's just frenzied chaos. And the border collie wasn't really supposed to, I mean, they don't need it, is what I'm saying. The border collies that herd sheep are level-headed. They can turn it on, they can turn it off. And I think that with agility, sometimes we're taking these dogs and we're turning it on, and then we're not letting them turn it off. And I don't think it does the dog a service from a learning standpoint, or their little bodies with all that juice, cortisol, all of the stuff that you can look up that adrenaline physically produces in the body. I'm beginning to really wonder how good that is for the dogs. So balance, right? Balance. And I use toys and food specifically. I use toys more if it's a no-brainer thing, and I use food if it's a calmer thinking thing. I'm almost done with my pre-agility online class, and I've been talking in here about these mark buckets, which is really just perch work. And I'm finding it a happy medium of, because it's fun for the dogs and they enjoy doing it, and it's rewarding. So I'm not using it in place of food, and I'm not using it in place of toys, but I am using it where I want to give the dog, I don't want to keep working the dog. I want the dog to have a little bit of a break, but I don't need to take them out of their brains via an overstimulating wild ride on a tug toy. Right now I'm talking about the dogs that are a little bit over aroused. So, and I'm hoping that sparks some questions for you. I talk here about creating your user-friendly play at home. You guys, you can't just show up at the dog show or at class and try to get the dog to play with a toy in a way that he doesn't easily play with in a few other environments. So think about that, and think about introducing play when you have your dog in the right state of mind. So right before you're going to feed them, I hope that when you feed your dogs and take your dogs for walks, and they're like, oh, something's going to happen. She's getting ready to make the food. She's getting ready to take us for a walk. When your dogs start getting sparky, that you're capitalizing on that emotional feed you're getting. They're like, ooh, something's going to happen. Start talking to them in specific ways. Ooh, we're gonna, yeah, you think something's happening? You think that something's going to happen? And let them get wiggly. And that's when you might want to play a little bit. See if you can get them interested in that toy. Tease them a little bit before you give them the food, so that you're, in a sense, rewarding an emotional state. That's a whole kettle of fish. As to how much you can do with that depends on where the dog is in their emotional state. When the dogs aren't sure how to respond, they often will start sniffing. When dogs aren't sure how to respond, they'll often start sniffing, whether it's about play or not. Sometimes with play, we shift around too much. We're inviting and then we change. Maybe we start clapping our hands. Maybe we start smacking the toy. We don't stay on one page. That can work, but it can also be confusing. Like you're inviting the dog into play and they're just about to, and then you do something completely different and the dog is possibly confused by that abrupt change in the plan. So you have to respect and respond to your dog. If your dog starts sniffing or turns off, do not try harder. Don't try harder. He's speaking to you loud and clear. If he was going to take the bait, he would have. He's saying, I don't know what you want. I'm feeling pressured. I'm feeling like you're trying to get me to do something that I don't understand, or I don't want to, or I didn't like the last time I did it. And you need to stop doing what you're doing and connect. Hey, bud, come on over here a minute. Do some massaging, do some scratching, invite that dog back into a nice, comfortable space until you get the body relaxing and the dog saying, well, could we try something different? And then whether or not you approach that game in a different way would be something between you and the dog in that moment. Guys, don't mask over when your dogs are waving flags at you. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get them to do a cued behavior or you're trying to get them. That's the, I'm trying to get them to. When you feel that, I can't get them to. He's not blah, blah. Cut your losses. Invite your dog, sit on your lap, lick your face, scratch your ears. Maybe you make some raspberries and get a little footsie game going like that. But you've got to reconnect. Once the dog says, I don't want to connect with you right now, connection's the only thing on the table. And then the toy rules, we talked about that a little bit. It is tricky business. I have to have some rules. I can't just have the dog nick off with the toy. Putting your toy on a leash, putting your dog on a leash until you have it. My last puppy, I have a great video if you've got a dog that is too possessive of the toy. Your next puppy, if you get a puppy that's possessive, I've got a great program for that I just love. And I've got a little puppy now that I wish so badly, he was so bad when I got him that I wouldn't record the work I was doing with him because I was afraid. It just wasn't, I wish I had, because now you won't believe me. You won't believe me that he was as bad as he was with keep away. No, mine, no, mine, 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 mine. And it took a lot of, I don't want your old toy. It took a lot of massaging. It took a lot of exchanging, food dropping, to where now he will, anything he has, he's like, oh, I'm going to run to her and get close because I can have my thing and get a massage. So I really brainwashed him in a true, every sense of the word. He got brainwashed that I didn't want his toy. And I do have some video of me working with a golden retriever that, so if you've got that problem, you can let me know. I need to get that video out on YouTube anyways. So the leave it command, I teach leave it away from tug now. So my dogs have a strong leave it command and they don't hear the leave it with it. I like wrestling the toy away from them when I'm tugging. So, it's a real game. It's a real game of who's going to end up with the toy. That's what tug is. So one thing that I see all the time with tug that drives me a little crazy, and there's an argument, there always is, that you could challenge me on this. You guys, when you get leave it trained and you have a strong tug and you're ready to use your leave it, which I do less than 50% of the time. I more often struggle to pull it, get my fingers in their mouth and get it away and tease them. Most of my tugging ends like that for my average drive dog. But I do use leave it, and I use leave it to teach get it too. So leave it, get it, leave it, get it. Don't pull on the toy while you're saying leave it. When you, I think you can see this, when you are pulling, that should be a cue to pull harder. So I'm not going to pull and say leave it. Should my leave it be understood to the point where I can? Yes, and it will, but a lot of dogs, you got to be a sophisticated trainer and put time into that maybe you don't have. But I've learned that I can just push my toy in. My dogs let go as soon as I push in because they know I push in and say leave it. So I'm, especially in the early, could I tug my dog and say leave it and they would let go? Yes, but why would I want to? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want the cue that means pull harder mean anything else but pull harder? Why would I hate that. I don't want cues meaning to, not just two different things, but two opposite things. So I'm obsessed with that. Does this cue, when my dogs get mixed up, that's the first thing I ask them. Does this cue, is there somewhere else that I'm using this cue to mean something different? You guys, if your dog's ever confused, that go there first. Like when am I having this mean something else? So pulling on the tug toy is a cue. Check, got it. If I don't want you to pull, if I want you to let go, I'm gonna push in and then say it. Okay. If you guys didn't see that, depending on how you've got your screen set, I can do it again. So push in. Sometimes if you push, okay, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Sometimes when you push in, they back up. Take your hand in the collar and then push in. You've got two hands and that's why. All righty. If you are going to require these behaviors from the dog, then you are obligated to teach each step thoroughly. So each behavior gets taught separately, the in the hand, the hold. If you've never taught a dog a proper hold, it's a real good exercise to teach. I want to talk about true tug versus play. When I reread this, I was surprised that I mentioned two things. One, a force retrieve. Some of you are not going to know what that means, luckily. In the olden days, 30 years ago, we would pinch the dog's ear to get them to open their mouth to do a retrieve. And it was a very, very fast, but uncomfortable, I would say painful way to teach. And once we all were like, well, can't we teach, let's teach without pain. Sounds like a good idea. So we have all found better, I mean, not all, I'm sure there's, okay, I'm gonna get off of that subject. I have found a better way to teach a retrieve, and I'm glad that I have. But what Sweep taught me was that even though he was taught in a very negative way, he learned to love it genuinely. I don't mean like, oh, he just did it because he was scared. He became a retrieving maniac for the rest of his life. So that's how I knew it could be trained, because if a dog could learn to love it that much, even with a negative, I'm not advocating teaching anything negative. We don't need to anymore. We've learned enough. But so I do have ways to actually teach tug. And one of the ways that is not here, I learned from a friend of mine, where you just take a washcloth and you just kind of pull it through the dog's mouth. And when they put the slightest little bit of pressure on it, good, 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 and you let go. And you just have them pull it through, and then they get used to pulling it a little harder and then pulling it a little harder. So, and I'm sure there's other ways. So teaching it, a step-by-step teaching the tug is doable if you're not getting it through arousal. Because we used to say, oh, if you get them excited enough, they'll do it. That is not true. Tug is taking something and telling your dog, fight me for it. Come on, fight me. Well, there's a lot of dogs that are like, I've just spent my whole life learning how to be responsive to you. Why would I fight you? So it's very understandable to me that some dogs are going to go, I'm not fighting, have it. It's yours, go ahead. So those dogs might be better off just to be taught, hey, this is a trick. You pull on this end and I pull on that end. Oh, isn't this fun? And then through that, the dog will go, yeah, it is kind of fun. And then the dog will start feeling those juices. And it's like, wow, this is way fun. Or, wow, I feel something I never felt, mama. This is really cool. So you can get there through training. I did a puppy lesson with two, what I would call prestigious hotshot trainers recently. And I said, get your toys out and play with your dogs. And they were playing kitty cat game. You guys, I play kitty cat game minimally, because like Quilly Bear in the article, she was like, this is wonderful. I can have it all. One game and do I can chew it a bit. I can pounce on it. I can grab it quick and let it go. I can tug a little. I can shake. I can do all of the fun dog stuff just while mom is playing the kitty cat back and forth game. Is that bad? No, it's not. It's play. It's wonderful. It's wonderful for the dog, and it's very fun for you. And you can get quite elaborate going behind your back and through your legs. And then, but what I'm doing, you guys, is I'm assessing the parts that the dog is like. Is it the chase when I whip it around my back? Is it the tug? Is it the chew? And sometimes they'll even want to get, that one part, especially when they're puppies, and get it right in that molar and and they actually, that's when I think a lot of the possessiveness goes, like, I got to get that tooth going, mama. So you can learn a lot about what your dog likes, but one thing that even these gals that I thought would have been eager to notice were missing is when you get that isolated tug. So this is another way, maybe it's called shaping, I guess it is, because you're isolating it and capturing it and letting the dog know. So when they're doing the kitty cat game and you get one of those, I wouldn't say get it, get it, get it, because they don't know what get it means. And that often is a little bit of a startle. It almost sounds like that's a mistake, that's a mistake. So what I say when I get that isolated pull, are you getting that I'm paying attention when I'm playing with the toy? I'm paying attention. I got to know which of those things are the dog's favorite: the pouncing, the chewing, the grabbing and letting go, the tugging. Because I want to capitalize. I want to show my dog, I pay attention to you. I know what you love best. I want that dog believing that I have magic powers. So when I get that, I tell him, good, good. What dog doesn't love to hear good dog? And so they'll play again, and I'm silent. Go ahead, play kitty cat, bite, chew, grab. I'm not making them wrong for any of that. But when they pull, good, oh, mama loving that. And then my goal is that they'll tug straight back and pull me, and I can tug straight and pull them. All righty, let's look at some photographs here. So this is what I call, I don't know what other people call it, forgive me, this is Ace Dog Sports language. This is what I call true tug, when the butt is up in the air and the elbows and the paws are in this position. And this is when Jigs was a baby. You notice my hand is not here. I don't hold close to their mouth. If he was trying to get up the thing because some of them want their mouth right there. I don't like that. So I just gently take them by the collar and put them back there. So this is one of the softer ways. My arm is outstretched. So this is the space of the dog. I'm trying to get the light to go back on. This would be what I would call the space of the dog, this space over him here. I am way over here. So there was a line, my line and his line. That's just trying to not intimidate him. So now I want to teach him not to be intimidated. So I'm leaning in a little bit more. I'm just barely, maybe not, you might be able to draw a line right here in the space of the dog. But you guys, what I want you to see is my arm. When I tug, I have steady pressure. So if the dog starts to do what I call sewing machine, if he starts to come, he can't, because if he lets go, I've got pressure. If he starts to open his mouth, the thing's going to fly out of his mouth. And then I'm going to tease him like crazy and tell him he's a slow poke and tease him till he gets on it again. So this could be too much pressure, but for this dog, it isn't. And then this is what I'm talking about too. You can feel it. Your arm is fully engaged so that the dog can't. If they let go, the toy's coming out of their mouth. So there's steady pressure while tugging. And you can see here that this is a pretty straight line of the dog's head and back. And this, even though the dog feet are off the ground. You guys, people with more knowledge on dogs' bodies than I have are studying this stuff, and pay attention to what we're learning about dogs. I'll show you something I know for sure. That's a kitty cat game. That's all kitty cat game. So I'm sure you guys, the swishing, you all, there's nobody on planet Earth, nobody in this seminar at least, that doesn't know what this kitty cat game is. But I want to find, so shaping true tug that we've already done. And I want to talk about the fight for it toys. But there's one picture here, this one. Now I'll go back to the others. But see how this dog's head is tipped back, and so there's neck and then this, opposed to the straighter one. Sorry, I don't want to make anybody dizzy. This is straighter, even though the dog's feet are off the ground. You guys, I'm so sure of this. Please, please, please believe me. I see dogs latch on to tug toys all the time, and the handler tips the head back. Now, Amy was posing for me here. So she was, because I wanted some hard eye contact. So this picture, I have it just by mistake. But I see zillions of dogs, as soon as their handler tips the head back, the dog lets go. Zillions. I see it every single day. And I know it just got uncomfortable. I'm not saying the dog is neck's being broken. I'm not saying it was in extreme pain, but it just got uncomfortable. So they let go. Bend your head back. And I'm going to ask you all to check your mics again, because somebody's got the mics are so sensitive on these smartphones. Okay, kitty cat game, fight for it. So there are these nifty mesh bags that you can put meat in. And I've don't let the dog eat the mesh bag. It's a tug toy. You got to put it up when you're done. Been there, done that. So I've had some really good tug learning but I'm letting them chew on it a bit. And then I'm just pulling a little bit. I'm not throwing the meat in the thing and then smacking it around. I'm not using arousal. So you guys, this is the thing. If your dog is turned off by trying to get him to tug through arousal, like I'm going to get him revved up enough that he'll tug. Somehow that got etched in stone in our sport. And if it works, great. You get him revved up and he wants to tug, yippee yahoo for you. But it doesn't work with all dogs. So these are other ways to tug. But this thing, getting them chewing on that. So they're chewing. They'll even sit down and suck on it a little bit. And you're just pulling a little bit. But you got to say good. You got to say, because if you just pull and shut up, they're going to go, oh, you want it. Okay, have it. I'm a good boy. So when they don't let you have it, you got to tell them, oh, you're good. I want you to do that. Okay. Praise only true tug. Do not praise the licking or the chewing or any sewing machine. So by sewing machine, I mean those dogs that are doing this. And sewing machine doesn't happen in my world, because I've always got pressure on the tug toy. So they can feel that. So if they go to do that, it comes out of their mouth. So I do, once I get them tugging, I touch them. This guy, I'm just putting my hand over top, and that could have spoiled, he might not have been ready for that, but he was. And I'm just asking, I didn't tug and to a certain point say, okay, now he should be ready, and then get disappointed if he's not. I just said, what do you think of this, pal? And if he didn't like it, then I would leave my hand lower. And then when I'm petting, it's in long, slow strokes. And then this is my favorite one here. I've got the dog tugging, and my hand is very gently on the dog's chest. And I'm very gently pulling that toy so he can feel a little pressure. And then here, he's doing that. He put enough pressure on that he ended up. So I like them to be handled. This is all gentle. I'm in a very neutral body position. I'm not over top of him much at all. And now I will stop screen sharing. I hope I gave you some of what you wanted. Cindy, what's your question? Go ahead and unmute.
I'm unmuted. I have a couple, and I don't want to take up more than I should, but let me start with what I think are kind of simple ones. If you have a dog that you think is familiar with the rules of tug, she knows get it and she knows drop, but during tug she accidentally lets go. Does she need another command to get it again?
That's a great question. I never say get it unless I am in a tease mode. So when you say accidentally drop, that has my interest.
Not drop, but it slipped out of her mouth, or she didn't intend to let go. She wasn't quitting,
okay.
But I ended up.
So this is what I do when my dogs let go. That might be the easier thing to do. So I've got the pressure on the tug toy, and if they are re-gripping or messing about it, I make it let go. So if there's that pressure, and so if the dog was distracted and let go, there's a little bit of differences, but in general, the toy's out of the dog's mouth. I go, oh, I call them sucker. You sucker, you lost it. And then if they get a hold of it, if they jump higher than I'm expecting, they get a hold of it, I certainly wouldn't scold them for not hearing get it. But if I've got them in a frenzy, I'll produce it and say get it.
You would say get it. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, because I'm teasing up here and I go down and say get it. I also proof my leave it by doing that. I'll say leave it and then do that, because I don't want a dog that mistakes my producing a toy to mean that that's a cue to grab it. So yeah, I'm not terribly concerned about it though. Okay. The repeating of the get it.
If you're teasing them with it up high, they shouldn't be jumping for it.
Oh yes, they should. Oh yes, they should.
Without a get it?
Yes, they should. I love it, Cindy. Oh, I love working with you. So if I'm teasing the dog with a toy, I have officially said game on.
Right.
It's officially game on. So if I wanted restraint, I will tell them, leave it. And then I may do the exact same thing with the toy, but I don't want them thinking too hard as to whether or not. So if I'm walking along and they go, oh, I might be able to grab it, I would say, you leave it. So my get it is not that strict. I'm not saying to them, no matter what, you can never, ever, 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 ever touch the toy if you didn't hear get it. If I'm in the middle of a game, it's a free for all. We're in a game. Yeah.
But get it, for me, get it would have preceded the teasing. I would say get it and then I would tease.
No, I would tease first.
Okay.
When I'm teasing, I'm saying, you want to play? You want to play? Maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. And I want that dog going, give me that thing. Right. Give me that thing. And if they get it by accident, I'm fine with that. I've initiated the game.
But they're supposed to understand the difference between that and you casually holding the toy down where they could.
They do, because I'm so blatant when I'm initiating. I mean, I'm blatant. I'm saying, let's go. We're on. Game on. I'm telling them game on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Something else that I think will be fast. Do you ever let them play with toys alone?
Depends on the dog and the toy. So the answer is yes. But if I had a dog that had issues, like didn't play whenever I wanted with whatever I wanted, I would have a few special toys for play that were kept away from the others for sure.
Okay. I'll let my time go to someone else. I have a couple other things, but let's.
Okay. Well, if we still have time, if the questions stop, we'll come back. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Leela. Are you there, Leela? Hi.
My question is this. My dogs will work for food. They like food, and I use that for training on the weaves, for example, or contacts, 2 and 2 and contacts. They enjoy tugging, I'll, tug a little bit and throw the toy or put it out for them to run to. However, they absolutely love it when I have two balls and I throw one ball as a reward, or I use one ball at the end of two jumps and they can drive to it. Now, here's my question. And then I use the other ball. When they bring the ball back to me, I'll throw the ball again, the second ball, and they know to bring that back and drop it.
Mm-hmm.
And they love that. They absolutely love that. But here's my question. I don't think I can do that at some point, even if I went to, games or something like that, or to competition. So what's the answer to that? I mean, it's great.
Well, you're talking about using retrieve as a reward. And what we didn't talk about is you have, whenever you're, food as a reward is a little bit easier for dogs to understand because they're born with that. And so when you're using toys as a reward, the dog literally has to be taught. And if you're spending all your time playing with toys and you're not asking the dog for a sit or a down and then giving them the toy, your dogs won't understand that that is a reward. I don't use retrieve as a reward because, for one thing, it wears my dogs out a little bit too much. And because of what you're talking about, it incites a riot in the closed court. I can't do it in a class. I mean, you can a little bit. If you're out there on your own, you can throw. But a lot of dogs, this is the problem. If your dog loves retrieve more than anything else, your tug probably has lesser value. So as soon as I know that a puppy likes retrieve more than tug, I make them love tug, and then they'll get some retrieve. But I think you've already discovered the limitations of using retrieving as your reward. So that's why there's a little bit more of an advantage to have tug. You guys, there's one other thing I want to talk about. We've got 10 more minutes. I'm going to take 2 minutes on this. I started to go there a little bit about when I said there's some things about tug I'm not that crazy about, and something in the retrieving question brings this back to my mind. I'm always learning, and I'm learning from my dogs. And lately I've been experimenting with using the toys less. And like, instead of planting reinforcement, using the mark. And I'm also doing some stuff where I'm just asking the dog, like, would you do this for some scratches and some cooing? And then I'm coming in with the toy and the food a lot less. I'm actually getting my dogs to work for me a lot more. And I had the girls that came with the puppies, we were doing our normal, kind of real high rate of reinforcement, right? That's how we teach dogs to love things. But I was noticing how for the puppies, it was more about the food than anything else. And with the retrieving and the tug, and I'm beginning to notice that I'm still going to use food and toys for sure, in the same ways that I'm using them. But I am now inserting myself a lot more before that food and toy. And with the puppies, I said, instead of doing this Pez dispenser, super high rate of reinforcement for being next to me, which has been my way for a million years, I said, because they're baby puppies, I'm like, let's see how long we can keep them captivated and interested with just your voice. And, reaching down and rubbing on them a little bit. And we were all surprised that the puppies were very entertained with it. What a good dog. Look at you, you little baby. And then an occasional treat. So you might start experimenting, because I almost feel like as we're getting our food and toys, and then the dog is like food and toys, food and toys, food and toys. For some dogs in some situations, there's a little tiny bit of a disconnect. So I invite you to explore seeing how much you can get just from your smile. The damn masks are ruining my world here. The smiling and cooing and talking and getting in the tuxedo. I'm telling you, if I have a ball, he's just not, it's just, yeah, he'll do anything for the ball. He's beautifully trained. But if I put the ball away and I love on him, he's like, turns into like a nice little sweet dog. And we'll do a little more and he'll get his ball eventually. But I'm not going to be using the balls and the food as much right off of the bat with dogs that I've already got this super cool relationship with.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you can go there. Jessica.
Yeah, I have two questions that are kind of linked. My dog is capable of playing a really great game of tug, but it seems to always be on her terms. So if she's not in the mood to play, I can't get her to play. But when she wants to play, it's really, really good. And so I'm like thinking, do I just have to like take advantage of those moments to strengthen that? And then the other part of the question I think is related is, I've been wondering if I've just been giving my dog too much freedom, that it kind of starts to translate that, you know, she gets to kind of pick and choose what's rewarding to her in that moment. And that's maybe why she's not engaging when I say, hey, I have time, let's play.
Well, your questions are really, really good, and your gut instincts are natural but wrong.
Okay.
Welcome to Life with Dogs. Because this thing of saying, well, if you're in the mood, I'll take advantage of the mood. But what the dog is learning is it's situational. The dog is going note to self, when I'm in the mood, we tug. And her mood just sort of seems to be irrelevant to me, because we're not tugging when I'm not in the mood. We're only tugging when I'm in the mood. So, you know, it's just like back to this teasing. I play hard to get a little bit. So if she's in the mood to tug, you may do a little bit of, you know, I don't feel like it right now, a little bit reverse psychology. And then maybe just a couple minutes later, you go, hey. And then when you do invite her in for a game and she doesn't want to play with you, you don't keep begging.
Okay.
And you don't try harder. So I'll go, want to play? And if they're like, no way, I'm going to wait a few minutes and say, well, maybe we won't be playing at all then. When I say a few minutes, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. And then I'll like, you know, you sure? You sure? And if I don't get something, if I don't get some little spark, I'll put my toy up. And then if the dog is going to go out and chase squirrels, that's not going to help you. So you may do a tether or a crate and invite the dog out to play. And then your question about, is my dog getting too much entertainment that's devaluing my entertainment? What breed?
She's a rescue. I think she's a mix between Italian Greyhound and Chihuahua.
Okay, so you may need to, so, but you said when you do play, she plays like crazy?
Yeah, she's really into it when she wants to play. But when she's not,
Yeah, they're thinkers. They're little stamp collector thinkers. So yeah, I would just see if you can slightly tip the scales a little bit. The stuff about if she is entertaining herself all of the time and she is good at entertaining herself, this theory of she might not need me. And years ago, I would say, take everything away. She lives in a crate. She comes out to play. But I wouldn't go that, I would just manipulate a little bit.
Okay.
I can tell you that is how the real super hard cases, if we really needed to do competition obedience with them or something, and we would manipulate. It's like, well, I've invited you to play, so you're not going to go play with the other dog this instant. But I now believe that there are better ways to get them to play than to just say, I think there's better ways to sneak in there than just to say, I'm going to make you play in a way you don't like. And if you don't respond to me, you're going into your crate. And by the way, if you did do that, it would never be a, you're in trouble, you're going to the crate. It was like, oh, I didn't know it was nap time. Okay, suit yourself. I sure wanted to play, but if you want to take a nap, that's okay too. But I believe now it's more of getting to the dog. And and I would try the chew thing and then the pulling the washcloth. I mean, just let her get a hold of the washcloth and good, and let her pull it through. And you can give her a cookie. You guys, you can train Tug using cookies. Is she food motivated?
Very.
Yeah. So, and in the first cookie you give, she's going to go, oh, good, I won't do that anymore. So be patient, because it may take a little while to get her mouth back on there. And
just reward for the touching of the tug toy at first.
Think of it as a trick, a skill.
Yeah.
Like, you put your mouth on the washcloth, you get a cookie, and then when she puts her mouth on, you just teach her to pull it through your hand, and then she's got to pull a little harder and a little harder, and you make what we would call a manufactured tug that's on cue.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yep. And anybody else? We can go back to Cindy if Cindy, anybody else? Okay.
I actually have only one question left because everything else got answered.
Oh, cool.
And it has to do with retrieve, because retrieve, I've worked hard at getting a consistent retrieve, and I'm always conflicted a little bit because I believe that part of the reason she's willing to bring the ball back is because I'll throw it again. And so at the point I want the game to end, I'm not throwing it again. So at some point I'm going to disappoint her by keeping the ball, right?
Yeah.
And I always also recognize the importance of leave them wanting more and quitting while they're still excited about the retrieve. So in other words, I've got to quit while she's still begging me to throw the ball again. Yeah. And she's got to be disappointed. But if I miss that opportunity and I do throw the ball again, then she takes it off and she's bored and now she won't bring it back.
So I think that when they don't bring it back is when they start to get a little tiny bit tired.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, I'm tired now, I don't want to go again. I'll just stay over here with it till I'm ready to go again. So stop while she's keen, but don't join her. So nobody should be disappointed. It's, I got your volley. We get to play later. You shouldn't be disappointed. And she's still going, oh, could I throw it again? And you're like, nope, not now. So,
but I worry that if I don't throw it for her, that she's going to say, okay, now I'm not bringing it back because you didn't throw it for me.
But this is the beautiful thing to know about dog training. When you're at the sushi bar, there is no spaghetti on the menu. You only have so many options. So you're going to take the least one, but if you keep throwing it, she's not going to bring it back when she gets tired. Right. So then that's not an option. So you will have to stop before she's tired. And there's But just, keep the energy up. No, the game is done. So she's pogoing around going, yeah. And then she does go do something else. Yeah. And then leaving them wanting more, I think, is great.
Yeah, that's super important for sure.
It's more important than the other things. Sometimes we're picking the lesser of the things, but I like it that you care.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else? Leela, did you have another question? Jessica, did you have another?
I do. So my same dog, I don't chase her, but she wants to be chased. And sometimes she'll just kind of run off with the toy and just look at me like, chase me. What do I do? And I was like, do I take another toy and try to get her to come back to this other?
You can do an exchange for toys. You can teach a good leave it, so they'll leave it over there. I recently wrote an article for, so is she stealing stuff to play keep away? I call that.
No, like sometimes, like if I let her win in a tug game, like every once in a while I'll just let her win. And then sometimes she just goes trotting down the hallway and down there, she's staring at me. She's like, come and get me.
Well, I would. Why not?
You would chase the dog?
I would I'm going to get your thing. And I would run all over the house and let him go up on the curtains. And we would wreck stuff and knock vases over. Sure.
So you would do a little bit of chase only in that kind of context.
I would do a ton of chase, but because at any point I can stop, completely change my demeanor and say, leave it or gimme. And I wouldn't play that chase game if I couldn't say leave it or give me. And I got a terrier border collie mix. It's 1.5 years. He's still going to go, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe not. And I say, I do this.
Okay.
No. He's certain the game is over. It's like when people say, well, they still think I'm playing. It's like, do you think your dad was still playing? No. Yeah. No, you were sure your dad was playing. So, and then if he says, oh, I don't care about and then he goes, if your dog can't tell when the game, you guys, if your dog can't tell, this is the other thing that we were just talking about. If your dog can't tell when the game starts and when the game is over, you've got a problem. What game do you play that you don't know when it starts and ends? Mm-hmm. So this demeanor this. So yeah, if he's at the end of the hall going, Mama, please chase me. I love that more than anything. I'll do a play bow. And I'll just have him begging me, and then I'll do another one, and then I'm going, game on, I'm going to get your thing. I'm going to get your thing. I'm going to get your thing. And I'll even try to get it. And they're like that's heaven for both of them. There's nothing.
I think that makes sense. I think I was worried that I was teaching the dog that it was okay to run away from me. But now that I think about it, it is an engaging chase back and forth. Because if I were to go down the hallway, she would come back following me too.
Here's all you got to know on that. I learned this from John Rogerson, incredible dog mind. Are dogs allowed on the bed? Is it good or bad for a dog to get on the bed? John Rogerson said, if the dog is on the bed and you can stand in the doorway of the bedroom and say off one time, and the dog jumps off the bed, you have enough control over your dog on the bed that it's not going to be a problem. But if you're playing keep away and you don't have a way to end the game, and that's going to be, no, that's a problem. So I can play whatever I want because I have a way to end. And I can do, and I've also teach my puppies trade. So if they steal something, I can trade. Can that backfire? Yes. Have I had it backfire? Yes. But then in my world, I started to say, I change my train of thought sometimes. I wrote an article for a local rag that was supposed to come out. We were going to rewrite it for Agility for Clean Run right before COVID. And I thought, all this COVID stuff is such a bummer. I don't want to have a negative, but the name of the article was Just Say No. So I do have no, my dogs do know what no means. Mm-hmm. And my theory on it is everybody has to learn how to say no. Women have to say no, kids have to say no, and dogs have to know what no means. So, and when I tell my dogs no, they're like, okay, whatever. Can we give a cookie if we come? So no is a recall, leave it as a recall, everything's a recall. I love that. That's great with me. No just means stop what you're doing and eat. Stop what you're doing and have another cookie. They don't resent it, but they do know that it's the worst thing you can do is invite the dog into a game and then say, I'm done. And the dog go, oh no, Mama, please don't be done. Please don't be done. And you say, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be done either. And I hope you guys can see why. That's when the dogs start going, oh, I can't tell when the game is over. If you say the game is over, you don't have to get mad. You don't have to get mean, but you can't change your mind. You guys, they can't talk you into the game not being over. If you're dying, if you blew it and you ended the game too soon, be done, get your thing, reward them nicely, and then say, okay, change my mind, I'll play again. But you can't mess with their heads. It's not okay. They gotta, once you've said it's done, you have to give it up. The game is over, you have to do a recall. And they're like, no matter how cute, no matter how much they're enticing you, oh, one more round, you can't go, oh, okay, I'll play, because then, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if anything you can end, you can do. It's all legal.
Yeah. Well, that was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, we're at about 6 minutes after. Next week, what is next week? I can tell you. Ooh, we're going to do a little feet first thing next week, setting lines with your feet. So next week I'll have the 5 key elements to precision handling. See everybody there, be square. Yes, we are going to bring them all to you. They'll all be there eventually. So let me know how you liked it. We're looking at 25 a month or so, 15 if you're not coming. There's a donation button on my website, acedogsports.com. And see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.